So welcome again. My name is Abby Greer. I'm in Kent, Ohio. It's a little town between Cleveland and Akron. I'm a longtime time banker and now a team member at TimeBanks.org. And also here helping us with the call, I'm going to ask you to wave so you can see, is Pam de Ocampo. So I can see you. Hi, Pam. Eric Bachman. There he is. And our executive director, Krista Wyatt. And of course, we have Christine Gray and Edgar Cahn. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
And I'd like to tell you that the town hall calls provide a space for all TimeBank members and supporters to foster connectivity through sharing each other's stories. When we share our stories, we are moving the movement and creating a more global community. We hope to provide a safe place to share our thoughts and dreams and where everyone is welcome and heard. This town hall call is the fourth of a series that celebrates time banking's core values. As you know, our core values are traits or qualities that are not just worthwhile, they represent time banking's highest priorities, deeply held beliefs, and provide a foundation for building our communities. Today, we will be discussing, for the second time, our second core value, redefining work. We do ask that we are all respectful of the fact that we're a group on the call, seeking to share with and learn from the whole group, and to be respectful of each other's time. In the same spirit, please do not use the call as an opportunity to recruit others to take action with you. If you are a coordinator of a time bank seeking knowledge about managing a time bank, we suggest you join the Time for All Time Bank, a global time bank designed specifically for coordinators and also hosts, starting back up again in September, a monthly coordinator sharing call. Please know again, we've muted everyone, and after we hear from Edgar and Chris, we will be opening the call for your stories, comments, or thoughts. And when you do so, you'll have to unmute. Yeah, we all know about Zoom, I think, these days. So I see that Krista's put the Time for All TimeBanks.org. We recommend you join it. If you are a coordinator, it's a beautiful place to create a coordinator community. I'd like to go ahead and turn the call over to Edgar, who is going to share some opening thoughts, and then Christine Gray, I hope will share some opening thoughts about redefining work, and then we're going to ask you to share your thoughts. So Edgar, thank you and welcome again.
It's great to be with you all. I was thinking as you spoke of all the kinds of work that we don't value. There is a rumor that raising children takes work. There is a rumor that helping elders stay out of nursing homes takes work. There is a rumor that keeping neighborhoods safe takes work. There is a rumor that getting people to turn out for elections to vote and to make democracy work. So there are all some significant domains where people are working and none of that is either counted or valued. And I think all of us here understand that it's that kind of work that renews the connectivity that each of us needs really to get on with life, for life to function. But it's that kind of work which, if it's organized, helps build trust, helps build community, helps us reach across lines of age and gender and national origin and international lines, because there is a vast volume of work that's done that's not valued, and part of what's wrong that we see politically is that it's all about money and the kind of work that brings money and the kind of activity that brings money, but not necessarily the kind of work that enables kids to grow up and learn how to trust each other, and who helps them with their homework, that enables mothers to get away from their kids and actually do some shopping or do some living other than being with the kids all day and all night, 24 hours, 7. That enables seniors to feel that they matter. So what time banking does is it says we value the kinds of work that the market doesn't count and doesn't value, and that we promote and stimulate and reward and document as a way of reminding the formal market society that without this work being done, nobody would even come to work. Nobody could raise their kids. Nobody could take care of their parents. Neighborhoods would not be safe, and something you may have heard of called democracy wouldn't exist. So we are making the work that is possible, that is so critical, we are elevating it to a level of visibility as fundamental. That said, I would say that we've done one other thing. We've eliminated price so that my time and your time and a third grader's time and a senior's time, all of the work we do is measured, its value is measured in the time that we put in, because ultimately all we have is our time on this planet. That's our slice of eternity. And frankly, that's priceless. That's the only thing we have. So every slice of time you give is a gift of your piece of eternity that you own and that you're sharing with others. So we here right now are sharing that slice of eternity. I'd like to open it up because the people have done things, and I'd be curious to see what they've done over the past, say, 24 to 48 hours that have said, I went shopping, I spent time playing with kids, I participated in some political event. But it would be wonderful for us to at least recognize and record some of the ways in which we spend the time that nobody is paying us on job to do, but that we're doing because this is what it means to be alive on this planet. So share with me and share with each other. What's something you've done? Have you walked a dog? Have you done gardening? Have you done babysitting? Have you commented to somebody about what you've seen on TV that got you mad? That's part of the dialogue that it takes to build community.
Thank you so much, Edgar. And just before we get into hearing your stories and answering Edgar's question about what have you done that makes you think about redefining work, I would like to ask Chris, I'm going to just put you on the spot, Chris, because I feel like you've heard so many stories over all of these years, and just maybe a couple minutes of your reflections on what this core value means.
So thank you for that, Abby. And as Edgar was talking, I did not come with anything prepared, because I really love to just see what happens and respond to see what happens. So I'm going to respond to what Edgar just said for a moment, which is to reflect for a moment on how we think about work in society. And basically we get rewarded often for doing things that are quite hard, quite challenging, sometimes distasteful. And there's a kind of quid pro quo. We do the work, we get a reward back, and then we go off and do other things that don't count. Some lucky people get to do jobs they absolutely love, and a lot of people get to do jobs they don't love, they get paid to do. And I was thinking about this redefining work, how there is one person on this call, I'm looking at her drinking a cup of something right now. Her name is BJ. And BJ would always say to me, especially I would hear this, Chris, if it's not fun, it's not worth doing. And she channeled fun and this redefining work into fun. And yet at the same time, I remember having a talk with somebody who actually did a lot of house cleaning for her time credits. And she said, it's not something I particularly enjoy, but I really know there's a need there, and I'm meeting a real need. So those are sort of two kind of interesting, contrasting kind of criteria for choosing to do what you do through time banking, to contribute in one way or another to help create a community that has that sense of playfulness and joy and connectedness through joy, and also to step forward and meet people's real needs that, as Edgar has been saying, don't so well get met sometimes through either a market economy where you get paid to do certain things, or you have to pay, or through what we call the public purpose economy, which is government programs or nonprofit programs, which sort of meet things in a certain kind of way. But all of these leave out the way we can help one another become resilient, strong together, not for that kind of pay. So there, I've said my little piece, and I am looking forward to hearing what others are going to say.
Thank you so much, Chris. Now I'd like to open it up, and this is can be a little jumbly with a lot of people. So you can either raise your hand, I have something to say, or you can type in the chat. We'd like you to keep your story to 2 minutes or so, and then we're going to ask Chris and or Edgar to reflect on your story. So is there a willing participant waving their hand? Or yes, BJ. Excellent. Good segue.
Yeah, good segue. I'm BJ from St. Pete Time Bank, calling in from Northern New York. I could probably listen and hear the ships at the St. Lawrence River if there was no other noise. We're that close to Canada. But I want to correct you just a little bit, Chris, because I was quoting the late Marie Nelson, who said, if it's not fun, it's not sustainable. And that's what put the fun in my time banking, because if we always had to do things work like this other person said, and the opposing thought of, if I always just had to clean toilets for time credits, I would quit. So we can, unless somehow I can make that fun, I don't know, sing to the germs or whatever. But keeping the fun and keeping the love of what I do in my time banking, I think has sustained me. And I got that again from Tampa Bay Time Bank and the late founder, Dr. Marie Nelson there. So I think with that, I'll just hush and see what else is available here today.
BJ, I love that you say that, because this feels like the game within the game. Some of us are coordinators of time banks, right? And we're working, right? We're working on something we all love and know. But I'd love to hear Edgar's reflection on just what you said, BJ. Would you be willing to share with us, Edgar?
I'm just going to jump in from, and I think Thomas's hand went up as well. So after Edgar, let's go to Thomas.
So much of what we take joy in is around purpose, is around the feeling that there's a reason for what we're doing to make the world better. And that isolation has its own cost, that there's no such thing as doing nothing, that when you're doing nothing, you're doing something. You're not using your time. And what we're doing, what we're just doing being here, is we're affirming connectivity. We're affirming that to be on this planet carries with it some responsibilities to reach out to each other and to be on the quest for meaning, to ask, why are we here? And is there some contribution we can make? And the most important contribution is to be present and to say who you are and to give of yourself and share of yourself. So I would want to start off by saying just your presence here means so much to me. And it's so much to me because all of us live in our own little islands. And for me to know I'm connected with people whom I've never met face to face and who want to affirm the same core values, who want to say that we're here to give life meaning and purpose, and we have the power to do so. We don't have to get permission to do so. We have the power and we can assert it in this way, and we have this tool to do it after this is over, tonight, tomorrow, the next day, with our children, with our grandparents, with our neighbors. and with the world. That's a very important statement of why we're here.
Thank you so much, Edgar. And I see, so we've got 3 in the lineup right now. We'll start with Thomas. Please unmute yourself, Thomas, and let's hear your thoughts or stories.
Well, thank you. My group, Cooperation Eugene, who formed the TimeBank Lane Service Sharing Network, went to a book talk called Pleasure Activism before we started. And basically it's about activists kind of burning themselves out too. In many ways, we are, as coordinators, very much activists and trying to help prosper our community. But that that whole pleasure thing, I think, is important, because one of the things we try to encourage people to do, we tell them, if you're already doing something for an income, don't offer that. Offer what it is would give you joy to do, something you want to try, building out, or manifesting a new income stream on, and offer that, as well as we also look for ways to gather as community, because it's through the community connections that we seem to get more synergy in our sharing of time. People will do more business or more interactions with those that they trust.
So that, Thomas, is so important, that piece in this, because we are not exchanging money that is so fungible, as they say. You can't, trust and connectivity are so important to making those exchanges really flow. So where, along with this idea of redefining work, there's like this aura around them of other things that matter and count. So we've come up with joy, love, trust. These are the things that this redefining work helps to sit in the middle of, these other things. And Abby, I think you said there were some other people who wanted to speak.
There are. I have a little list. We'll go with Teresa next. Teresa, would you be ready to unmute yourself and share with us?
Sure. And I have my camera off because I'm in a rest mode today. But I'm also a member of the St. Petersburg Time Bank. And I was just going to respond to Edgar's question about what we had done in the last 48 hours. And last night, I participated with about 150 other people in a candlelight vigil to commemorate former Congressman John Lewis, and to advocate for passage of the People's Rights Act. And so, or I'm sorry, for the People's Act. And so that's something that I've done in terms of community activism for a long time. It didn't feel like work, it felt like community. And that was why I was there. And I take great joy in being involved in things in my community. And I was one of those people that had to be convinced that I should join the Time Bank, and that a lot of what I was already doing would definitely fit in with what the Time Bank philosophy is. So thank you.
Thank you.
Edgar, would you like to respond to that? Because I just had a million amazing thoughts.
Well, I think affirming the value of the moment is so important. What we take for granted, what we don't think about, is in fact perhaps the most important thing, that we're here, and that look at how many of us are here sharing a moment from all over the globe. Technology has made it possible really for us to celebrate being a human being. Think what a rare thing it is for what was a one-cell being to evolve over billions of years into all the cells that we have speaking to each other. I wonder, how did consciousness come in? Because to the best of my knowledge, all of us are conscious, all of us are aware, all of us have some sense of connectivity. And isn't that a miracle that we came from inert minerals And here we are being alive as beings in a world that's full of life. And that's a gift. That's a miracle.
I need to jump in here. It is really, truly a felt need. Teresa, I have to ask you. So I think you're in the, BJ must have encouraged you to join the time bank, because I've got to see BJ's got, no, there's somebody else. Well, I see BJ's got a big smile on her face. So what was it that actually tipped you into saying, yes, I'll do this kind of strange thing. I will earn and spend time credit.
Well, I had several friends that were members of the time bank, and they kept telling me, you really should be a member of the time bank. And so I also garden, and I had a deck in my backyard, and BJ knows this story. And at one point, you know, it was supposed to be my happy place, but it become a mess. I mean, I had plants everywhere. It needed to be set. All kinds of things needed to be done to make it a happy place for me. So I posted an event on Facebook, and I said, I titled it, Help Teresa Get Her Happy Place Back. And so all of these friends of mine, many of which were Time Bank members, came, and it was amazing what they did. They did everything from pull weeds to pressure wash my deck, to stain it, to help me hang a shade cloth. I mean, it was just a beautiful, it was just more than I ever imagined. And after that, I mean, even laying pavers, it was just amazing. So many of them were time bankers, and I was like, I said, now I get it, you know, because I want to give y'all something. So I gave them time credits for helping me get my happy place back. And after that, I was hooked. And now I'm actively recruiting people to join. Anyways,
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Sure.
Yes, and I think I'm sorry, I just have to bust in here because I've been a part of our time bank, started it in 2010. And when Teresa talked about activism and volunteerism, and we even thinking about activism and how important that is and how passionate we are. And I'm not saying we're all out looking to be rewarded for the time we put into things, but isn't it beautiful that Teresa could earn time credits doing something in her community that she believes in, and then can spend them elsewhere getting help with her garden? To me, this is redefining work. Activism and volunteerism is something that we have to rewire our brains, I feel, to think of it as a time credit, because how do we honor that work that Teresa did? If we're not honoring it with time credits, oh, we're going to say, Teresa, you're amazing, and you're so great in the community, oh, that's beautiful. And I just think that has a shelf life. Now she's got time credits. I don't know. That's where I go to redefining work. And I'm sorry to just blow in my own thing, because I want to hear Irene next and see what she has to share. If you could unmute yourself, Irene.
First of all, I want to tell you thank you for having this kind of program. And yes, BJ's influence reaches a long way. BJ through Dr. Andy LePage, and here I am in Brooksville, Florida. Not an extremely active member, but totally supportive of your work. And I just wanted to share what has become the new phrase for me, earworm. In speaking to the executive director of the North Carolina Interfaith Power and Light, she made a statement that just stuck with me last week. And it says, party with a purpose. And it just pushed it down into 4 words. Cut out the A, it wasn't a big word. Party with purpose. Isn't that easy to remember and a mantra to say pretty frequently as we volunteer? Now, I volunteer an awful lot. I thought I was going to do a little bit when I took early retirement way back. And what I didn't count on was how much I was going to learn. I thought my skills would be outdated. No, I got pushed to learn new stuff. But 2, how many interesting and wonderful people I have met through volunteering. And yes, Edgar, you are right. Much of it is what we might call distance learning, because we're not in the same city, we're not in the same state. Sometimes we're not in the same country. So party with a purpose. Wow. And I appreciate all of you sharing your stories today. Thank you.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Party purpose. That is nifty.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. I was going to ask Chris or Edgar if you'd like to respond to Irene before we go on. We have a couple more folks.
I just think that's just a wonderful, wonderful story. And I think what I will just say, I would like to add is, in a way, it's actually a privilege to be able to volunteer and to give in that way. And we all know, all of us in time banking, that the challenge can be often in the other direction. So one of the, about the receiving end, that learning to receive graciously can be a little mountain in and of itself. And I don't know, Irene, how much you're into both the giving and the receiving. One of the things that the time banks do is they open up that space for that conversation around, yes, what about the receiving end? And I could just say from myself, I squirm and squidge around it, honestly. I find it really, really, really hard. And yet when I have done it, when I've actually asked people to do something for me for time credits, the feeling is absolutely wonderful. And I know it will be, but I still struggle around that asking business. So yeah, thank you for sharing that party with purpose, which I absolutely loved. And I would just like to sort of insert in there the giving and receiving dynamic that is so central to time banking, around this idea of redefining work as well, because these things all fold in together.
Chris, I love what you're saying, and I feel like you just did this beautiful teaser for, I'm pretty sure next month, right? We'll be talking about our core value, reciprocity. And I think the giving and receiving is huge. So this is a great teaser for you all to come back in a month. And we'll have 2 sessions on that, which I think will be very raw and real. I mean, who likes to ask for help? Who likes to be on the receiving end? So thank you for mentioning that. I would like to mention a couple other things that I want to make sure we didn't miss. Sorry. Jed asked about some nonprofit stuff, and Jed, I'm going to ask you to hang on after the call is over, because I think there are a couple people here. He had asked about nonprofits that might serve as a fiscal sponsor. Great question to ask. We can talk about that after, if you're willing to stay on. Dr. Andy is going to be up next, but I also want to point out that Eric Weaver put in the chat when Edgar was talking, and I just love that he said this. I want to make it like a bumper sticker. Nothing more important than celebrating the moment now. And I think he took that from what Edgar was saying. So thank you for that, Eric. Dr. Andy, would you be ready to unmute yourself and give us your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you. I want to pick up on about 3 different things here that are all total, in my view, very connected. And it is what Edgar, you said at the beginning about the celebration, how important the celebration is, and the celebration of the moments. And then about the garden and all the people coming over, and you turn around and other people are coming down the lane and they're bringing their shovels or they're bringing whatever. So I've been remodeling my house, and I'm at a point where I really thought I had a great color picked for the living room. So I went and got it and put it on, and I didn't like it at all. And so I said, well, if I get a color that's a little darker, that will really do it. So I went out and got another couple of gallons of paint and painted. So now we have 2 different colors to paint on the wall. And I woke up and said, my God, that's terrible. Where was my head at? So why I'm telling this to you is because some time bank people got to me and said, Andy, we're coming over tomorrow, and we're 3 of us, 3 are coming, and we're going to get you out of this difficulty you're in here. We'll get you another color. We'll get your living room finished for you. You'll be happy. And I went out and got some lunch for them tomorrow and then put a little email to them and said, I took a line from Keeping Up Appearances, the old British comedy, if you've ever seen that, with Hyacinth Bouquet. And I said, I have a light lunch prepared for you. And it is not served on Royal Doulton china with periwinkles. It will be on paper plates. But we're going to have a good time tomorrow. And here's the beauty of it and why I wanted to pick up on your term, Edgar, of celebration. It doesn't matter if the living room gets painted tomorrow. It really doesn't matter. What matters is we've got 4 folks coming together. God knows what else we'll talk about. We'll get something done, I'm sure of that. We'll have a great time, but it'll be a celebration. And that's the important part. And I will have no trouble receiving all of whatever they're going to do. I will think it's wonderful. So I want you to know that.
Such a great story.
I think celebrating the moment, celebrating the moments that we have
That's it.
is wonderful. And in some very special way, I'm looking at everybody, and the image that's coming to my mind is origami. The way in which when we fold paper, magic occurs. And there's a sort of magic in the origami of our being together today.
So cool. Abby, I don't know if you've got people on your list, but I saw that Thomas would like to actually add something more to what he said earlier. Is that right, Thomas?
Well, basically after hearing Irene talking about partying, I just wanted to say that one of the things that our time bank has done is kind of fully funded our parties. So there's ways of coming to gatherings and contributing and being an organizer or putting in time that way. But usually we encourage people to do time exchanges at our parties in ways of valuing what people have brought, what people have done in service. And then we a lot of times play some games of exchange and help people think about new ways to create exchanges that they hadn't thought of before.
Cool. That's really great. Yeah, doing it together like that. I'm guessing that things come up that people never thought of.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Thomas.
Yeah, a lot of times we have ideas, but if we keep them inside, we only have one idea. Once we start sharing our ideas, we kind of multiply the ideas.
Very nice.
Absolutely true. I do have another person, Tamsin, has raised her hand, actually sent me a message, which is great because I don't tend to see the raised hands. I've got 2 pages of folks. So I love that you're just telling me, or if somebody else can show me that somebody raised a hand. But Tamsin, if you would please unmute yourself, we'd love to hear what you have to say.
Sure. Yes, I just wanted to share. So we have a gathering. I'm the founder of West Seattle Time Bank here in Seattle, Washington. And we have a gathering every 3rd Thursday of the month. And we've been holding those by Zoom. So this Thursday, we had our very first in-person gathering since COVID. And we had it at a place called Puget Ridge Edible Park. And Puget Ridge Edible Park is an area in West Seattle, and it's an organization that's a member of our time bank. And so what we did is we said, okay, we'll have a work in the garden party from 4 to 6. Then we'll have our potluck, our usual potluck at 6:30 to 8. And it was just so wonderful because other people from the Puget Ridge Park who normally work there from 4 to 6 were there. And they met people from our time bank who they'd never met before, probably never would have, maybe would never have come to a time bank gathering. And so we merged together. And it was so wonderful to see how excited everybody was to see each other again. You know, so this thing about celebrating the moment, I sat there and just felt so wonderful. All that work of putting it together to get, you know, the message out to everybody and get people to bring plates and cups and knives and forks, all that we do when we do an event. Sitting there watching people smile and talk to each other just made it all worth it, you know, and it just, I didn't even want to bank the time because I gained so much in just that joy of that. And we worked with another organization And some of the people loved the garden so much, they took a tour of the garden. You could pick zucchini, you could pick herbs, you could pick lettuce, and you could make a salad right there. They made a salad right there that we ate. It was just so beautiful. So they're going to volunteer now. A couple of those people that were Time Bank members that didn't know about it. So I love the idea of joining with organizations and getting together and sharing both members. And learning new skills. Some people said they knew nothing about gardening and they could learn things there. Just wonderful. So that's what I'd like to share today. Yeah. So good to see people in person.
Yes, I bet that just feels so good. And if anybody's like me, I carry like a bundle of brochures around, like, oh, Time Bank, here, take this brochure. So thank you for sharing. Chris, do you have a reflection on Tamsin's joyous reuniting face-to-face?
I really actually do, because what I know about the West Seattle Time Bank is how much your Time Bank, Tamsin, has really brought organizations into your Time Bank, and how that has opened up these different ways of exploring possibilities in the way that you've just shared so beautifully. And I think you have, how many is it? More than 40 organizations in your Time Bank? Yeah. So I think that's an area that I'll just sort of put it out there for time bankers everywhere to sort of explore this kind of working on the individual level at one level, and then with organizations as well, how beautifully they can fold in together. And I know some of the New Zealand time banks are doing that, and I'm sure some of the other time banks right here are also doing this folding in of organizational partners and just building up the sustainable community in this way, in this lovely, beautiful, layered way. Oh, there's a hand going up, Graham.
Yes. And actually, Graham, I have a couple before we get to Graham, and just for a little time check, it's 4:40. So we still have a good bit of time to hear from a few of you, and then we like to end with Edgar and or Chris's final thoughts. But Kari asked if she could share a little story about our topic today. Kari, if you could unmute. Hello, Kari.
Hi, everybody. Greetings from southern New Mexico. I'm Kari, and we've had our time bank here, Mississippi Valley Time Bank, for about 5 years. And one of our early joiners said that he didn't have anything to give, and why would anybody value what he has to offer? And he's always, you know, very, very humble, and yet also takes up a lot of space in meetings. So it was clear that he had a lot of needs to be heard, and yet didn't feel that others would appreciate what he had to offer. So it was a really interesting and challenging dynamic at times. But what we found as we got to know Charles better, and I know he'd be okay with me sharing this, he rides the bus everywhere. He does not have a vehicle. He's a retired gentleman, and he's made that choice consciously. He also has very little money. So he really has gotten to know our city really well on the buses. And so what he now does is he offers bus tours, not tours, but sort of how to use our city bus system as one of his offers. And what we found has come from that. I mean, it's been a variety of things. We hire AmeriCorps Vistas at our organization every year. So when we get new Vistas, they always go on a time bank exchange with Charles to learn about how to use the bus, put their bike on the bus. And then we also have a wonderful group called the Beloved Community, which is an organizational member that works with young adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And they have gone with Charles a couple of times to learn how to use the bus. And so it's been a wonderful way to bridge, as you all were saying, these kind of age divides, but also for people to gain some sense of independence, and for Charles to see that his knowledge has really, you know, the work in essence that he's done to learn our city is super valuable. And how we all, I think, one of the things we try to tell each other is, in this work of redefining work, we have a responsibility to discover other people's gifts that they may not themselves know that they have. And that's something that's happened in this case. So thanks for letting me share.
That
Thank
is
you so much. Yes, Edgar, I'd like to hear what you think about Charles earning time credits, teaching his community about the local transportation.
I think we don't emphasize enough that learning is work and that teaching is work, and that sharing life's lessons is something that is a specific blessing, because we don't have to worry about who knows what and who doesn't know what, because it's a gift to hear and to learn and to share the experience both of teaching and of learning. But I think all of us at some point may ask, have I used my time well? And if you've used your time either teaching or learning, you've given and you've received in ways that we need to celebrate. We're a species that started off in the caves, and we had there's a rumor we had some learning to do to get to where we are now. And I think that the sharing, I think the missing thing that we all are working on is, how do you learn to trust strangers? Because if you can't trust a stranger, you're isolated. And what we are really pioneering is that it's possible to trust strangers. And in all the years that time banking has gone on, I haven't heard of reasons why people felt betrayed or hurt or injured because they trusted a stranger and because they were willing to share their own personal vulnerability or their own personal joy or their own personal need. And that's a remarkable statement for really not just for hundreds, but for thousands of people trusting strangers. And to the best of my knowledge, nobody's going to jail.
Thank you, Edgar, for that reflection. And what a great story, Kari. I really feel like that hits redefining work, like how important it would be to someone else in the community to feel comfortable in that system because of Charles. I mean, that might seem like a little thing, but it's a big thing. It's a really big thing. I'm so glad you shared that story. I know Jerome has something to add here to our stories, thoughts, or comments. So Jerome, I'm going to turn it over to you. You just have to unmute.
Sure. Thanks, Abby. I'm saying hello to Bernadette. I don't think we met, but something interesting and maybe coincidental was going on today. I've been working at the kitchen counter table here in my house where I spend most of my time, I guess, because I hate the summer and I'm envious of the cool weather in New Zealand. So I wish I was there. But there's someone else on the call here today. It's someone who's been involved with youth time banking from who's in Jamaica. Richard's connected in. And so my wife was, I guess I just stare at the computer screen all day, and the people who walk by wonder if I'm okay. And she'll say, well, what are you doing? I said, I'm doing stuff, because that's like a handy response that can just about apply to any kind of question. I'm doing stuff. No, she said, no, tell me exactly what you're doing. Like, what is so important that you're doing? I said, well, if you know exactly what I'm doing, is I'm working with a college student in New Jersey on a project that we're doing for McCanterbury Time Bank, which is in New Zealand. And as a matter of fact, I was just communicating with someone in Queen Heights, Jamaica, who's also working on that project. And she said, well, why are you always doing stuff for people in New Zealand? I said, well, they're very nice and we like them and it's a fun project. And she said, are they paying you? I said, no, what do you mean, are they paying me? It's for time banking, it's for youth time banking. I said, oh, okay, I guess that's okay. I said, isn't this amazing though? We've got people in New Jersey, Jamaica, and we're collaborating with someone that we haven't met literally face to face, in person in the same room or anything like that. We've just met through the town halls, through International Time Banking Day, through other time banking seminars and the Time Bank Idea Exchange. I said, that's pretty fantastic. And whenever someone asks me, do you have anything interesting to say? I tell them some stories like that, because I'm just still fascinated by this happening. And so I put a link, I put a link in the chat here. So this is, so it's a hidden link on our website, but since you're all nice people here, so you're seeing some work in progress. We're developing some logos and designs that might be selected to use on something that Kate White and her folks in Mid-Canterbury are involved with. So maybe not, but we're keeping busy. The other thing I wanted to share was that I had to break up a card game with my mother-in-law, because I know you were saying about you know, what the core economy does. So we were spending some quality time playing cards with my mother-in-law, who has a memory impairment. So, but we had a lot of fun with that. And I was invited to a community meeting last Friday that's organized around positive youth development. I think that might be a phrase or a common phrase that's used at least in various parts of the US, maybe other countries. And I know that Casey Family Programs and a lot of other national youth research organizations have that. So I talked with them about time banking, and a couple of people there were really enthusiastic and said, well, we're not doing anything like that. And I think that would add some fun and energy to what the one of the teen councils wants to do. So I'm going to be meeting with them later this month, and they're inviting me to meet with some students at a local community college also in the fall to see if they'd like to participate in a time banking activity or project. So wish me luck.
Yes, good luck, Jerome. You are a great spokesperson for time banking, and I'm so glad to, I feel like just in the last year have met you. I'm really glad you're here. We have 3 more hands up, so the time is 4:50. Here's my goal. I would like to hear from these next 3 people in the order I'm going to say, and then we will wrap up the call with Chris and/or Edgar with final reflections on our core value redefining work. So the order I have is Graham, and then Richard, and then Francis. So if you could kindly keep your remarks to 2 minutes or less, we're going to do it all. We're going to have our cake and eat it too. So Graham, if you would unmute yourself, we'd love to hear from you.
I think I just wanted to comment about having organizational members. We have quite a lot in our time bank in New Zealand. We have about 40 or 50 organizations, 40, I suppose, out of 450 members. We see this as not just valuing the work that people who volunteer for these organizations do, but we kind of think of it in terms of stimulating the time bank economy. If the country wants to stimulate the economy, they print a whole lot of money. They borrow money from the banks, and that stimulates the economy. So we kind of think that in our time bank, we allow organizations who do volunteer work to print time credits and put them out there into the time bank economy, and that encourages other people to use them. I just wondered if Edgar or Chris wanted to comment on that thought.
I think that the idea that it's out there, but that it's also an invitation to do 1 or 2 things, to create either a project that people can work on or an event that they can make happen, like a birthday party, like an anniversary, so that it's not just putting out the credits, but it's asking people to say, now do something with this, either in the form of an undertaking. Maybe it can be helping kids with homework, or maybe have a birthday party or an anniversary or a celebration. Because I think our ability to make things happen by offering those credits is represents a very important strategy and growth strategy, but it needs to be catalytic.
So I need to, because I know we're short on time, I want to just say, Graham, That is a beautiful way of putting it. I love it, how you've just done that. That actually organizations need people, and yes, they need volunteers, but you're tying this, as is the West Seattle Time Bank, you're tying that need into your time bank to stimulate this giving and receiving, which we'll get to next time. And that you just put that so beautifully. I'm glad we're recording this, because that is really, really a lovely way of looking at it. And I saw some heads nodding as you were saying that. That is, that gave me goosebumps. Lovely. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Graham. I don't mean to rush anybody, but I'm going to jump over to Richard, because then we want to hear from Francis before we end our call today. So Richard, if you could unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Richard from Time Bank in Jamaica. I'm just really happy I've met Time Banking. I've been a part of a lot of non-profitable organizations as well as clubs, the 4-H Lions Club. And there's a small group of us in my community where we do summer camps for children. Meeting Jerome and Time Banking is one of the best things, because as a young person, we need to be involved and active. And I stopped going to school after some time because of Corona. It was kind of getting to me. And then Jerome reached out to me and gave me some tools and so forth. And from there, I actually found out that how well I am good at logo making. I can make videos. I can do a lot of stuff, and I can contribute. All us youth time bankers over here, we got together, we painted a mural. On that mural, it says youth strength equal community strength. And I do believe in that, because we need our youth to be more involved in that way, that we can actually have a brighter future. And as youths as well, we need a sense of purpose to do something. And Youth Time Banking right now has given me that sense of purpose during this time. And I thank you all for that.
That's lovely. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, sorry to overcut you, Chris. I think I'd like to hear Francis's story, and then I'd like to end with reflections of both what Richard just said, which is so powerful and meaningful, and hopefully what Francis will tell us. Francis, you're unmuted, so let's go with your thoughts or story.
I go by Joy, and I'm in Boulder, Colorado. And all I want to say is hello.
Yes.
Hello.
And why didn't anybody say hello when I came on? Because I've been sitting here going like, I dropped Time Bank years ago, gave $300 to a fellow time banker because I have trouble getting my needs met. I'm really good at helping other people. So I can't wait till next month, put my 2 cents in. And I'm not good at being a facilitator or, whatever you moderators do. So that's it. Thank you.
Francis, I'm really glad you're here. And Edgar, I'd like for you to reflect on both Richard and Francis. I know it's a lot in another 3 minutes, but I feel like you and Chris might have something to add.
Well, as you were talking, I was thinking, why are we here? And I thought, we are here to ask, why are we here? That's really why we're here, to keep asking that question and to know that we've been given the gift of time and we're here to use it and to say, how do we make the best use of it? And the best use of it is the connectivity and the trust and the respect and the willingness to devote time for us to become more than strangers over miles and continents and global distances. We're here to ask, why are we here? And to say we're here because that's our purpose. And that's how we find purpose. So it's a very special gift to me, and I think we're all giving a gift to each other just to be present. And the notion that your time is a gift and that to give that as a gift is important to people is partly what we're affirming in a very special way, in a very different way.
Thank you, Edgar. Would you like to add anything, Chris, to Richard's comments? Richard, Graham, Richard and Francis.
Yeah, Richard, thank you so much for sharing. And thank you for highlighting again the meaningfulness of the way that the exchanges have become meaningful to you. And that is so important, because we are about creating meaning, and that's a really important piece of time banking. And Francis, just thank you for your blunt talk. And it would be so lovely if we had time for everybody to say their piece here. Sadly, we don't, but it's always a pleasure and a joy to hear everybody speak their truth. So thank you. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you so much, Chris. I would like to also say at 4:59, going on to 5 o'clock, I want to thank everybody for coming here. I feel like, I don't know, my heart just always goes for weeks after these town hall calls. We're coming together and talking about really meaningful, important conversations that I don't think a lot of other people are having. I feel like we're pioneers. I feel like your stories are, we all know they're just touching us. They're keeping us getting up in the morning and saying, oh, maybe that's why I'm here. This makes sense. Listening to Richard, I just kind of kept looking at Edgar and thinking, Edgar, you know, you wrote that book. And now there's all these people on this call. I just felt like you must feel so much joy. You said how wonderful it is for us all to come together, but next month, we'll be returning to our next core value, reciprocity. I have a feeling that our 2 calls there, 1 month in August, 1 month in September, will be big and exciting. A lot of stories about reciprocity. That's a huge core value, goes both ways. And that will be on August 15th at the same time, right, Krista? I'm correct, August 15th, the 3rd Sunday in August. So we hope you'll join us. Please bring a story, a time bank story, an idea about reciprocity. Chris and Edgar will reflect on that idea, which to me is so much in the learning. So this concludes our call. We have stayed on in the past. I know that we're gonna stay on with Jed because he had a question about nonprofit and sponsorship. Anybody is welcome to stay on for another 15 minutes, or you can just say goodbye and hang up. But thank you all. I'm excited to see you in August.
Peace and blessings, everyone.
I want to share, the rabbi sent me a passage from Micah that came to the heart. It says, he hath shown thee, O man, what is good and what the Lord requires of thee, but to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. And I think in a very special way, we're here to walk humbly with thy God. So I wanted to share that.
Thanks, dear. All right. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, all of those who are leaving. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. It was a wonderful call.
What
Thank
a joy,
you.
what a joy to see you all. Yes,
Yes, it was indeed.